Hey everyone, David Aragona here with Craig Milkowski, taking a look at one of a couple of 7 furlong stakes races for the 3-year-olds on Saturday at Tampa Bay Downs. Race 7 is the Gasparilla Stakes, going that 7 furlong distance for the 3-year-old fillies. And we've got a field of 8 signed on, and a lot of questions to be answered in this race, Craig, because it's not the highest quality stakes race you're ever going to see. I think that's fair to say. And the horse that's coming in that looks like she's got the best accomplishments on paper is the number 1, Mystic Lake, who I would assume is going to be the morning line favorite in this race. But she's earned all of her accomplishments on synthetic, so has to prove that she can handle the dirt here.
For sure, it's a race we don't have the morning line for as we're recording this, and it would have been nice to have one because other than, as you said, Mystic Lake, I expect to be the favorite. Outside of that, I really have no idea how the betting's going to go in this race because all the speed figures outside of Mystic Lake are pretty similar, not very impressive, as you noted, but these are lightly raced 3-year-old fillies, so I'm going to probably look for a horse I expect to improve.
Yeah, it's a lower quality stakes race that I think you'd typically expect to see at this time of year. You've got 4 horses out of the 8 that have actually run against claiming company before. I think 3 have won their maidens and maiden claiming $25,000 races. So big disparities in quality between some of the races these are coming out of. And I think the Timeform USPPs can really help with that. We'll get into that a little bit when we talk about the runners. First, let's take a look at this Timeform US pace projector. And it's going to be interesting to see how much speed the number 1 Mystic Lake is able to show switching over to the dirt, because she obviously was pretty aggressive in her recent synthetic races, didn't show any speed in her prior dirt start, but maybe she's just grown up since then.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I never want to hold a horse's first start against them too much, even if it's on a different surface. And, I don't want to draw those conclusions that she can't run at all on dirt, but it is a question mark. And if she doesn't handle it, it could throw this pace projector into disarray.
Yeah, she really is the only confirmed frontrunner in this race. I know that fast-paced designation is showing up, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are a few horses vying for the lead, but I do question how quickly they're going to be going up front, because it's not like there are so many others that need to be in front to have their best chance in this race. Well, let's go through the main contenders, really all of them in post-position order, beginning with that number 1 Mystic Lake. And we're going to take a look at the past race 2 back in her PPs when she was second in the Glorious Song at a big price this day, led the field into the stretch at 15-1 and just gets run down in the late stages. Came back with another good effort last time, stretching out around 2 turns in the Mazarin. And Craig, looking through the fields that she's faced in these 2 races, there is no doubt that she is coming out of the best fields of anybody in here.
Right. You can see it in the Timeform US race ratings, but she's been facing pretty good competition. Now, she hasn't been able to get the job done, but she's run well. And both of those last 2, I do question a little bit that she seems a little headstrong on the front end. So if she doesn't break well from the inside, that could be a problem for her. As we mentioned, some question marks with the switch to synthetic. But like I said, I'm not writing it off. I think she will probably handle the dirt a little better than she did the first time. It's just a question of how short of a price do you want to take.
Well, I hope she handles the dirt better than she did the first time, because she was bet down to favoritism that day. She went off at 7-5 as a first-time starter for Sappy Joseph. Those types usually deliver, and she just had nothing to offer at any stage of that race. I mean, a little bit of trouble out of the gate, but not so much so that she had a right to lose that race by nearly 25 lengths. So really some questions. I think it's interesting that Sappy Joseph shipped her right up to Woodbine after that race, clearly wanting to get her onto a different surface. Also, note that she was racing on Lasix in all of those Woodbine races, and now she is one of the only horses in this race that's coming off Lasix from her prior form. So just something to consider with a horse that is probably going to be a pretty short price in this race. The number 2 is Copper Bound, and we're going to take a look at her most recent start. She is one of those that is coming off a maiden claiming 25,000 win, so a big step up in class for her. But what I will say is, Craig, watching this race, she clearly towers over the horses that she's facing here, not just from a performance standpoint, but also physically. You could see she's just bigger than everybody else in this race as she strides onto the wire pretty impressively and is geared down towards the end of this race. It's obvious that she is a lot better than the horses that she faced on this occasion. The question is whether she can handle this step up in class. If Mystic Lake doesn't show up, it probably becomes an easier race overall, but still, she's going to have to get a little faster.
She is. She's yet to hit the 80 mark, which a lot of these other horses have done. But you had to like the way she powered through the stretch, even if it was against overmatched rivals. She's tried longer. She ran fine at a mile and 40 yards the time before. So the 7 furlongs, I think, should be a help.
Yeah, and she's a horse that I thought ran deceptively well too back. That was a race where she was a distant second that day, but the winner is actually okay, and she tried to battle that one after going very wide into the first turn. I get the sense she's a little better than she might look on paper, but we'll see if she's able to handle this class hike. The number 3 is Delightful Summer, and she was a winner of her debut at Monmouth with a pretty game effort. She put in a relentless rally through the stretch to just get up at the finish of that race. Hasn't really been in the mix since then. Did finish second in a sprint race at Delaware 3-back. Most recently was against a slow pace on the turf, so not going to hold that against her. But she's another one that's just going to have to get a little faster, switching back to the dirt.
That maiden win was really slow, so I don't want to put a whole lot of stock in that. Even though it was as a summer 2-year-old, she hasn't progressed all that much in any of her last 4 races, so she's going to need to step up even against a pretty weak field here.
Up next, we'll take a look at the number 4, Runaway Diva, when she broke her maiden on debut at a big price, went off at 15-1 this day, and puts forth a pretty professional effort. She ranged up on the outside around the far turn and just steadily pulls clear through the stretch. Got a respectable 82 time form US speed figure for this race. I can't really say that I think much of the field behind her this day, Craig, but I suppose she has some upside second time out.
Right, the 82 fits if the one horse doesn't show up on the dirt. It fits with all the others in here. I'm a little skeptical, though, when I was looking through the chart of that race. As you noted, it's not the strongest maiden race you're ever going to see. So even into a race of this quality, it's still a pretty big step up.
Yeah, looking through some of the maiden races these horses are coming out of, I was thinking that maybe there wasn't that much of a difference between the maiden 25s and the maiden special weights that a few of these exit. But she is taking a step up in class, at least does have that faster speed figure. The number 5 is Gervin's Princess. We're going to take a look at her race when she was actually a winner 2-back in, or actually when she was second last time. I'm sorry, when she was a winner of her last race, getting the dates mixed up, for an optional claiming starter allowance race. And puts in a good effort this day, Craig. I mean, she showed she was able to raid off another rival. Gamely wears that one down coming to the finish line here, and now has won 2 in a row for trainer Kathleen O'Connell, stepping up in class, and another one that hasn't yet run a particularly fast speed figure, but at least she's got those 2 victories.
She does, and they were easy wins. She's moving in the right direction. She's improved her time form US speed figure every time out. If she does it again, she certainly could be in the mix in here.
The number 6 is Gorgeous Girl, the other runner for Greg Sacco in here. And we're going to take a look at her last race when she actually was facing males and a decent group of males in an optional claiming allowance race, and put forth the best effort that we've yet seen from her, closing pretty well to get third in this race. I thought that she had a little bit of trouble at the start of this race, kind of got steadied and bumped back, then rode the rail for much of the race, had to alter course a little bit. She was finishing well, though, at the end here. A performance like this, I think, makes her a contender in this spot.
I liked what I saw from her that day. As you noted, it was male. She had some trouble, and I really liked how she was striding out through the lane. So if she gets any kind of pace up front, I think she's going to be pretty dangerous in this spot.
Towards the outside, we've got a couple of stablemates going out for the same trainer. The number 7 is Genuine Peril, probably the one that's a little bit easier to make a case for. She's coming out of the local prep for this, the Sandpiper. Actually, the only horse that ran the Sandpiper that's coming back in the Gasparilla this year, is the top 2 finishers have since gone in other directions. She's another one that's going to have to get a little bit faster, Craig. And I wish I had seen her do a little more running through the stretch last time, considering the fact that she did get some pace to close into.
Yeah, I agree. She's a little deceptive because her form looks terrible, but when you look at the speed figure, she's basically been running similar speed figures every time. Got back to her best number last time. She's not for me, but she's probably not the worst long shot you're ever going to see on paper.
Yeah, I agree with that. I gave her a look. The Sandpiper, probably a tougher race than this one, but we've got to see if she could take that next step forward like a lot of these need to. And then the number 8 is Corinth, going out for the same barn. Just a horse that hasn't even broken the 70 time form US speed figure barrier on the dirt yet, and feels like one that would really need to progress from her recent races.
Yeah, it's not very good when you look at the race rating she's coming out of. The last one was better than all the others, but it's not a race where she was really competitive, being on the lead in pretty slow fractions and just had nothing left.
Well, let's throw up our picks for this Gasparilla Stakes, Craig, and we each want to take a shot against that number one Mystic Lake. I think that's just the kind of horse that both of us are looking to find an alternative to if we can, with so many questions to answer. And we're both going to Greg Sacco runners. You went for the number six, Gorgeous Girl.
Yeah, I liked what I saw in the stretch, as I mentioned. She really finished. I like how she was in behind horses, taking dirt, didn't seem to bother her at all. And as you said, I just didn't want to take a big chance with the horse likely to be the favorite. I was tempted to put her on top because she's obviously has the most talent, but it's just too many questions for me.
And I thought about putting Gorgeous Girl on top myself, but at the end of the day, I just thought that the number two Copper Bound was going to be the right price in here. I liked the visual impression of her last couple of starts, particularly that maiden win last time. And I'm just not afraid to take a price in a race where I really don't trust the form of a lot of horses that are going to take money in here. So the number two Copper Bound for me and the number six Gorgeous Girl for Craig in the Gasparilla Stakes, race 7 at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.